Criticism. Speaking to a gathering of evangelical Christians in Jerusalem, Netanyahu emphasized what he called strong protections for Christians in Israel and accused critics of spreading lies about the country's actions. His remarks come just days after an Israeli airstrike hit the Holy Family Church in Gaza, killing at least 3 people, an incident that has drawn condemnation from church leaders in Jerusalem. They describe the humanitarian situation in Gaza as dire, with widespread hunger and suffering. Netanyahu also pushed back against claims of starvation in Gaza, accusing the United Nations of distorting facts. But top religious figures, including the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, say people in Gaza are indeed starving and urgent aid is essential. Once again, we're joined by Mark Sutherland. Mark, it seems like Israel's words, at least Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's words, are not being believed around the world. Condemnation, international pressure about Israel's government. Why is this happening?
Well, because if when you're sitting down to negotiate with Hamas and they are turning around and saying that the number 2 part of the reason why we would then want to go along with the ceasefire is to stop any other aid agency providing food in regard to Gaza that is outside UN control. The Washington Street Journal have just reported this, which I think is a very, very interesting development on those lines. The bottom line is this is about control of actual giving supplies and food into the Gaza region. The reason being is because Hamas makes money out of that. Once you begin to take the control out of that, you then start to deplete the finances that they are then receiving. Other banks around the world are also shutting their accounts. It has been previously said that they are then running out of money to actually pay their fighters, etc. In regard to attacks on Christian communities, Thomas, in regard to the Catholic Church in Gaza, my own understanding there that an ordinance, part of an ordinance went onto the top of the church, unfortunately. If you then, Thomas, go back to the accusations of abuse against Christians, there was an incident in Taipei, which is under Palestinian Authority control, which is the biggest Christian community that is there. When you then investigate that, where Jewish settlers are herding their cattle, they then are accused of violence. The Arabs in that area actually set fire to fields. They then come along and put those fields out, and they get accused of that. Sorry, Thomas.
Apologies for the interruption. Another claim that Benjamin Netanyahu made was that people aren't starving in Gaza. However, there are countless humanitarian organizations that say that that is not true. The UN has found over 1.17 million people were experiencing emergency to catastrophic hunger. It's an unprecedented level worldwide. We've also obviously seen the visuals of starving children. Benjamin Netanyahu completely denies that this starvation problem is real. What is your response to that?
The pictures you would then have to examine. You would then have to work out whether they've actually come from Turkey, whether anything has been doctored. Bluntly, I will say that to you. There is also tons and tons of supplies outside ready to go into Gaza that have been held up because of the UN then accusing Israel of saying, well, we can't get this in, we don't have protective routes. And the Israeli Defense Forces turn around and say there's at least 3 routes in there. The thing to say is this: in no time within war is the country that was then attacked actually feeding the country that attacked them in the unprecedented way that the Israeli government, the IDF, are in fact doing. This is a power play, Thomas, as much as this may be a completely and utterly unacceptable to say. If we look back when hostages release, and you look at certain individuals there, and you think that various people are extremely well fed. Do I want to see anyone starving or the violence, etc.? No, I don't. But we are dealing with a lot of propaganda, and this is basically asking Israeli forces to stop the war in piling on the pressure constantly on in regard to the propaganda war. And of course, getting aid in is a weapon that is actually used. And what Hamas and other NGOs organizations have not liked is that Israel, working with an American charity, is working hard to get food directly to people free of charge, instead of Hamas then putting a percentage on there to make profit, to actually fund them to continue the actions that they have been taking against Israel.
Just to provide some balance there, Mark, the UN and all these other agencies that are experienced in handing out this aid have said that it is Israel that are blocking aid from getting into the Gaza Strip through their countless military checkpoints, etc. Unfortunately, we ran out of time on that topic, but Mark Sutherland, thank you very much for joining us on the programme.